Welcome, welcome to the AAI Common Room, where we dive deep into the literary masterpieces that both delight and disturb us. Today, friends, we are tackling a behemoth, a titan of literature, Fyodor Dostoevsky's The Brothers Karamazov. Albert, Isaac, glad to have you both here for this epic journey.
Oh, Aristo. I've been vibrating with anticipation. It's less a book and more an entire philosophical universe that just sucks you in. I'm still processing the sheer audacity of it all. Sucks you in is one way to put it, Albert. I'd say it aggressively grapples with your soul and then demands answers. My teaser reaction? It's a masterful exploration of how quickly chaos can erupt when a family dynamic is fundamentally rotten. And boy, is that Karamazov family rotten.
Exactly. And my initial thought walking away from it was how Dostoevsky uses this seemingly simple crime story to dissect the very essence of belief, doubt, and human freedom. It's truly astonishing. So let's jump right in. We're introduced to Fyodor Pavlovitch Karamazov, this awful, sensual, buffoonish father. He's the catalyst for everything, isn't he?
He's not just a catalyst. He's the original sin personified, a truly repulsive man. The narrator calls him a strange type, yet one pretty frequently to be met with, a type abject and vicious, and at the same time senseless. Senseless, but shrewd enough to amass a fortune. That's a chilling combination.
And the way he treats his children, it's almost comical in its neglect if it wasn't so profoundly tragic. Dmitri, the eldest, from his first wife, Adelaida Ivanovna, is practically forgotten. Then Ivan and Alyosha from his second, Sofia Ivanovna, are similarly abandoned. It's like he collects wives and then discards the offspring as an afterthought.
That detail about Mitya being cared for by Grigory, the faithful servant, because his own father simply forgot him. It's not malice, the narrator says, but forgetfulness. That, to me, is almost worse. It speaks to such a profound absence of paternal feeling.
It sets the stage for everything that follows. Dmitri, the fiery, passionate one, grows up with this vague, exaggerated idea of his inheritance, constantly clashing with Fyodor Pavlovitch over money. Ivan, the intellectual, the atheist, comes back into the fold, ostensibly to help Dmitri, but also, I think, drawn by a morbid curiosity about his origins. And then there's Alyosha, the youngest, the spiritual one, the novice.
Alyosha. Oh, he's such a fascinating contrast to his brothers. He's this pure, almost angelic figure, drawn to the monastery, to Elder Zosima. He's described as an early lover of humanity. Even his father, Fyodor Pavlovitch, who's an absolute mess, finds some sort of inexplicable affection for him.
Yes, Fyodor Pavlovitch's drunken blubbering to Alyosha, asking who will pray for him, wondering about hooks in hell. It's a moment of surprising, if deeply distorted, vulnerability. He says, "You've got all your wits about you. You will burn and you will burn out. You will be healed and come back again, and I will wait for you. I feel that you're the only creature in the world who has not condemned me." It's a key line, I think, showing Alyosha's unique power.
It's a manipulative vulnerability, though. Don't mistake that. He's still Fyodor Pavlovitch, always playing a part, even if a part of him genuinely feels what he says. But Alyosha, yes, he's different. The narrator emphasizes he's not a fanatic or mystic, but a realist. He believes because he desires to believe, not because of miracles. That distinction is critical.
And his path to the monastery, he finds his mother's grave, almost by instinct, because his father has forgotten it. And then he just knows he needs to enter this world. It's a thirst for swift achievement, a desire to sacrifice all and not just 2 rubles. It shows his absolute commitment, which is admirable, even if a touch naive.
That idea of sacrificing all for truth, even life itself, which Dostoevsky points out is often the easiest sacrifice compared to years of tedious study. It's a subtle dig at certain types of youthful idealism, but it also elevates Alyosha's devotion beyond mere sentimentality. He's seeking a total commitment, a way to live for immortality.
And the concept of the elder, the stedits. This isn't just a regular monk, it's someone to whom you surrender your will completely in the hope of self-conquest. It's a terrible school of abnegation. It's a huge commitment, and it speaks to the yearning for spiritual authority that existed, and still exists, in Russia.
The story of the coffin being cast out of the church because the martyr broke his vow of obedience to his elder, that really drives home the absolute, almost terrifying authority these elders held. And Zosima, Alyosha's elder, is described as having unbounded and inexplicable authority. He can see into people's souls.
He's this beacon of light, almost unnaturally joyful, even when dealing with the most sinful. The monks say he's more drawn to those who were more sinful, and the greater the sinner, the more he loved him. It's a radical compassion, and it's what makes him such a magnet for everyone, from the simple peasants to the most tormented souls.
Right, but even Zosima, for all his sanctity, has his detractors within the monastery. The older monks, the strict keepers of fasts and vows of silence, envy and hate him. It shows that even in a place dedicated to spiritual purity, human pettiness and jealousy still fester. Nowhere is entirely free of the Karamazov taint, if you will.
Ooh, the Karamazov taint. I like that, Isaac. It's like a spiritual stain that permeates everything. And then we get to this unfortunate gathering at the monastery. All the principal characters are there. Fyodor Pavlovitch, Mitya, Ivan, Alyosha, Musov, and even Madame Holikov. It's like a theatrical performance, with Fyodor Pavlovitch as the lead buffoon.
The whole purpose of the gathering is ostensibly to settle the dispute between Fyodor Pavlovitch and Dmitri over money, but it quickly devolves into a spectacular display of Karamazov dysfunction. Fyodor Pavlovitch acts appallingly, insulting everyone, especially the monks, and reveling in his own depravity.
He's performing, explicitly. The narrator tells us Fyodor Pavlovitch was all his life fond of acting, of suddenly playing an unexpected part, sometimes without any motive for doing so, and even to his own direct disadvantage. He loves playing the ridiculous part of the injured husband, and here he relishes the role of the impudent provocateur.
And Mitya's entrance, he's so passionate, so earnest in his complaints, but also utterly undignified. He claims Fyodor Pavlovitch cheated him out of his inheritance, that his father stole his property. It's a legitimate grievance, but Mitya's temper and chaotic nature don't do him any favors.
He's a walking contradiction, Mitya. Honorable in his heart, perhaps, but utterly reckless, driven by sensual desires, gambling, and a desperate, burning love for Grushenka. He's convinced his father has cheated him out of 25,000 rubles, the amount of his mother's dowry.
Which Fyodor Pavlovitch did get his hands on, by the way, so Mitya isn't entirely wrong about being cheated. But it's the manner, the constant public accusations, the threats, that escalate things to such a dangerous point. And the fact that they're both obsessed with Grushenka, who is this captivating, almost mythical figure in their lives.
Grushenka. Oh, she's fantastic. The femme fatale, but also so much more complex. She enjoys playing with them, making them dance on a string. But she also has a hidden tenderness, a past wound that makes her utterly human. She's not just a plot device.
No, she's far from it. She represents a kind of earthy, sensual, almost pagan force, directly contrasting with Alyosha's spiritual ideals. She's the object of desire, but also the catalyst for so much of the destructive passion within the family. Her beauty, her capriciousness, her past, it's all entwined with their fates.
And even the cool, detached intellectual is also captivated by her, isn't he? Even he, with all his rationality, isn't immune to her allure. It highlights the pervasive nature of sensuality, even for those who pride themselves on intellectual superiority.
Absolutely. The Karamazov sensuality, as the narrator calls it, is a key theme. It's not just carnal desire. It's an intense, almost feverish engagement with life, with pleasure, with suffering. It's what makes them so vibrant and so dangerous.
Book 3, The Sensualists, really delves into this. We get the backstory of Lizaveta, the idiot woman, and the rumors about Smerdiakov's parentage. This is where Dostoevsky really starts to lay the groundwork for the murder, showing us the depths of depravity and twisted relationships.
Smerdyakov, the illegitimate son, the lackey, the epileptic. He's the most unsettling character because he's so quiet, so observant, so full of resentment. He's the physical embodiment of Fyodor Pavlovitch's depravity, living in the shadow of the man who begot him but never acknowledged him.
And the scene where Fyodor Pavlovitch tells the story of Lizaveta, his second wife, being cut down from the halter, and then he talks about his own sensuality, about those innocent eyes slit my soul up like a razor. He's a monster, but a self-aware one, in a twisted sense.
That self-awareness is what makes him so repugnant. He knows he's a blackguard, as he tells Alyosha. He knows his actions are despicable, yet he continues, almost reveling in it. And then we get to the confessions of a passionate heart. Mitya's confession to Alyosha is just raw.
Mitya's confession is him laying bare his soul. He admits his profligacy, his constant need for money, his love for Grushenka, and his hatred for his father. He's so honest about his terrible nature, but also so clearly tormented by it. It's a crucial moment for understanding his character.
And the poem, The Confession of a Passionate Heart in verse. He recites Schiller to Alyosha about the hymn to joy. It's this beautiful, idealistic poetry coming from a man who is living the most debauched, chaotic life. The duality in him is staggering. He aspires to the heights, but is constantly dragged down to the lowest depths.
I want to live, and I love life, and I love life, though it's shameful. That's the essence of Dmitri Karamazov, isn't it? He embraces life in all its messy, contradictory glory. He's a sensualist, yes, but he's also capable of immense tenderness and moral struggle.
He's a mess, but he's a human mess. Unlike Fyodor Pavlovitch, who seems almost caricatured in his evil, Mitya feels real, feels like he's genuinely wrestling with his angels and demons. And his belief that his father stole the 3,000 rubles meant for him, that's the central conflict that fuels the murder.
And the brandy scene, the discussion about the existence of God and immortality with Ivan, Alyosha, and Fyodor Pavlovitch after Mitya has left. It's a preview of the profound philosophical debates that are coming. Fyodor Pavlovitch's atheism, his silly, cynical pronouncements against Alyosha's nascent faith.
Fyodor Pavlovitch's hooks in hell monologue is brilliant. His desire for hell to have no ceiling, because it makes it more refined, more enlightened, more Lutheran. It's a perfect encapsulation of his twisted logic and desire to be perceived as clever, even in his depravity.
It's all just talk, though, for Fyodor. For Ivan, it's deadly serious. Ivan's atheism is not the casual cynicism of his father. It's a deeply considered intellectual position. He's wrestling with the problem of evil, with the suffering of innocence.
Which brings us beautifully to Book 5, Pro and Contra, the heart of the novel in many ways. This is where Ivan truly articulates his worldview. We get rebellion and the Grand Inquisitor. This is where the whole philosophical weight of the book really lands.
Ivan's argument in Rebellion is devastating. He presents Alyosha with a catalog of human suffering, particularly the suffering of children, and argues that no future harmony, no ultimate truth can justify such pain. He returns his ticket to God, refusing to accept a world built on such a foundation.
It's a powerful argument. The idea that even if there is a God, if the price of admission to heaven is the suffering of one innocent child, then the price is too high. Ivan can't reconcile divine justice with earthly torment. It's an indictment of theological complacency.
And then he tells the story of the Grand Inquisitor, which is, for me, one of the most profound pieces of writing in all of literature. Jesus returns to Earth during the Spanish Inquisition, performs a miracle, and is immediately arrested by the Grand Inquisitor.
The Inquisitor tells Christ that humanity doesn't want freedom, they want happiness, and they'll gladly trade their freedom for security and certainty. The Church, in this parable, has corrected Christ's work, offering bread and miracle and mystery, rather than the terrifying burden of free will.
The Inquisitor argues that humanity is too weak to bear the burden of freedom that Christ offered. They need someone to tell them what to believe, to give them a sense of meaning, even if it's a lie. It's a profoundly cynical view of human nature.
But also a profoundly compassionate one, in a twisted way. The Inquisitor believes he's saving humanity from themselves, from the anguish of choice. He's taking on the burden of their freedom so they can be happy. He's willing to go to hell for them. That's what makes it so chilling.
And the fact that Jesus responds with only a kiss, no words, just a silent, loving kiss. What does that mean, Isaac? Is it an acceptance of the Inquisitor's argument, a refutation, or something else entirely?
It's a profound ambiguity, isn't it? It challenges the reader to grapple with the implications. For me, it suggests that ultimate truth transcends logic and argument. The Inquisitor's intellectual edifice is met with pure, unconditional love. But it doesn't dismantle the argument. It just offers a different path.
It's the triumph of faith over reason, but not an easy triumph. Alyosha, after hearing this, is shaken, but his faith is ultimately strengthened by Elder Zosima's teachings in Book 6, The Russian Monk. Zosima represents the counter-argument to Ivan's intellectual rebellion.
Zosima's teachings are all about active love, humility, universal responsibility, and the beauty of suffering. He tells the stories of his own life, his duel, his conversion experience, and his brother Markel's early death, which instilled in him this profound sense of interconnectedness.
And his teaching that everyone is responsible for everyone and everything. It's the antithesis of Ivan's despairing individualism. Zosima preaches that true freedom comes not from rebellion, but from loving submission, from seeing the divine in everything and everyone.
This story of Zosima's conversion after almost killing a man in a duel, realizing his servant Afanasi has been so kind to him, and then seeking forgiveness from everyone he encounters. It's so powerful. It's the embrace of humility and interconnectedness that Ivan, in his intellectual pride, rejects.
His final exhortations are a synthesis of Christian philosophy, emphasizing forgiveness, active love, prayer, and the joy of life. He even talks about the hell of suffering for the inability to love. It's a direct response to Ivan's intellectual hell.
But then Zosima dies, and the expected miracle, the preservation of his body, doesn't happen. Instead, his body rapidly decays and smells. This is a huge crisis of faith for Alyosha, isn't it? It's a moment of immense spiritual testing.
Oh, it's agonizing. The devout monks, expecting a sign of his sanctity, are dismayed. Even some of his fervent followers are disappointed. It's Dostoevsky challenging the very nature of faith, asking if it can survive without external validation, without the miracle that the Grand Inquisitor offers.
And Alyosha, the pure, the innocent, is deeply affected. He falls into despair. He's vulnerable to the temptations of Rakitin, the cynical seminarian, who tries to lead him astray, especially with Grushenka. It's a critical moment for his spiritual development.
Rakitin is a snake, always looking for an advantage, always cynical. He tries to exploit Alyosha's moment of weakness. It's another example of the destructive forces at play in the world, trying to corrupt goodness.
But then Grushenka, in a moment of unexpected grace, offers Alyosha an onion. She tells him the story of the wicked woman who was offered a single onion by her guardian angel to pull herself out of hell. It's an act of profound, unexpected compassion from the sensualist herself.
It's one of the most beautiful and poignant moments in the entire novel. Grushenka, the object of desire and source of conflict, becomes an instrument of grace for Alyosha. She offers him comfort, and he, in turn, offers her forgiveness and understanding. It's a moment of spiritual reversal, a profound connection between the sacred and the profane.
And it's what pulls Alyosha out of his despair. He then has his vision of Cana of Galilee, seeing Zosima not in the decay of death, but in a state of grace and joy, presiding over the wedding feast. It's his spiritual breakthrough, cementing his faith.
That vision is just breathtaking. He wakes up, falls to the earth, weeping and embracing it. He leaves the monastery, ready to engage with the world, not to escape it. His faith is no longer dependent on outward signs or miracles, but an internal, living truth.
So, Alyosha, having navigated his own crisis, is now spiritually prepared for the unfolding tragedy. And that tragedy, of course, is the murder of Fyodor Pavlovitch.
And the frame-up of Mitya, all the evidence points to him, his threats, his hatred, his desperate need for money, his prior physical assault on his father. He even steals the 3,000 rubles from Grushenka, though he later clarifies it was his own money, originally meant for her.
But he didn't kill him. That's the brilliance of Dostoevsky's plot. He builds this undeniable case against Mitya, making the reader almost certain of his guilt, and then pulls the rug out from under us.
The true murderer we discover through Ivan's torment is Smerdyakov. He's the one who was lurking, waiting for the right moment, influenced by Ivan's intellectual arguments about the non-existence of God and the idea that everything is permitted.
Smerdyakov is the dark shadow of Ivan's philosophy. Ivan, in his intellectual arrogance, provided the theoretical justification for Smerdyakov's nihilistic act. Smerdyakov takes Ivan's abstract ideas and enacts them in the most brutal, tangible way.
Ivan's horror when he realizes the extent of his culpability, not for the act itself, but for planting the seed of the idea in Smerdyakov's mind, is profound. He feels responsible, and that's what drives him to madness.
His 3 interviews with Smerdyakov are utterly chilling. Smerdyakov, in those conversations, lays bare Ivan's intellectual hypocrisy, accusing him of desiring his father's death and providing the philosophical justification for it. Smerdyakov says, "It was he who said that," referring to Ivan's "everything is permitted" maxim.
Smerdyakov is the ultimate pragmatist. He heard Ivan's words, saw an opportunity, and acted. He took the intellectual argument to its logical, horrifying conclusion. He's smarter than anyone gave him credit for, in a perverse, cunning way.
And the devil's appearance to Ivan, Ivan's nightmare, it's a literal manifestation of his internal torment, his conscience personified. The devil isn't a grand, terrifying figure, but a petty, common, almost boring demon, which makes it even more unsettling.
The devil in Ivan's nightmare isn't some Miltonic Satan. He's a mundane, sarcastic, almost pathetic figure who endlessly reiterates Ivan's own doubts and contradictions. He tells Ivan that he's suffering from his own fantastic ideas. It's the ultimate psychological torture.
It's his mind breaking under the weight of his guilt and his inability to reconcile his intellect with his conscience. The devil is just a projection of Ivan's own fractured self. He wants to believe it's a hallucination, but the lines between reality and delusion blur.
And then we have the trial, Book 12, A Judicial Error. It's a brilliant satire of the legal system, with all its pomp and superficiality. The prosecutor, Ippolit Kirillovich, gives this incredibly eloquent, psychologically astute speech, outlining Mitya's guilt. But he gets it all wrong.
He builds this elaborate, convincing narrative of Mitya's guilt, perfectly encapsulating the Karamazov nature, sensual, passionate, violent. He believes he has Mitya completely figured out, but he misses the crucial details, the nuances, the true murderer.
The prosecutor's speech is a masterpiece of circumstantial evidence and psychological profiling. He paints Mitya as this archetypal Russian character, capable of both sublime heights and grotesque depravity. But it's an intellectual construct, ultimately devoid of the actual truth.
And Fetyukovich, the defense lawyer, is equally brilliant, twisting the narrative, raising doubts, exposing the inconsistencies. He even suggests that Smerdyakov, the son who is never truly acknowledged, might have motive. But even he doesn't fully grasp Smerdyakov's cunning.
The court is swayed by rhetoric, by the compelling narratives presented, rather than by objective truth. And in the end, Mitya is convicted, despite the growing evidence of his innocence, despite Ivan's last-ditch, desperate testimony.
It's a scathing critique of justice, isn't it? That truth can be obscured by eloquence, by prejudice, by the desire for a simple narrative. The peasants, the jurors, they want to believe Mitya is guilty because it fits their preconceived notions of the Karamazovs. They want to punish someone.
And even after his testimony completely collapses into a brain fever plagued by the devil's visitations. His intellectual rebellion, his grand inquisitor philosophy has destroyed him. The weight of his own ideas, externalized and acted upon by Smerdyakov, becomes too much.
The entire trial sequence is masterful in how it explores the subjectivity of truth. Everyone has their own version, their own interpretation of events, based on their biases and desires. And the legal system, designed to uncover truth, often merely validates the most convincing narrative.
So Mitya is sent to Siberia, a sacrifice for the sins of his family almost, a redemption for the sensualist perhaps, but it's a harsh, unjust redemption.
But he accepts it, doesn't he? He finds a kind of spiritual peace in his suffering, a readiness to embrace a new life, a new understanding of himself. He speaks of going to a new birth. It's a dark path to spiritual growth, but growth nonetheless.
He even finds a way to escape, with Grushenka's help, planning to go to America. It's not a clear-cut happily ever after, but a complicated, morally ambiguous path towards a new life. He's still Dmitri, impulsive and passionate, but changed by his ordeal.
Which leaves Alyosha, the innocent, to carry the torch, and the boys, especially Kolya Krasotkin, who is a mini Ivan in his precociousness and skepticism. Alyosha's mission in the epilogue is to guide these young souls, to inspire them to choose goodness.
Kolya Krasotkin. Oh, he's such a delight, this arrogant, intelligent, slightly cynical schoolboy who befriends Alyosha, the boy who threw stones at Alyosha. He's like a nascent Ivan, but with a capacity for warmth and genuine affection that Ivan seems to lack.
His relationship with Alyosha, the suffering boy, is crucial. It shows Alyosha's ability to connect with and influence the younger generation, to steer them away from the intellectual traps that ensnared Ivan. The scene at Alyosha's bedside is so tender.
The boys represent the future, the hope that the cycle of Karamazov depravity can be broken. Alyosha's speech at Alyosha's funeral, at the stone, is his ultimate message, his gospel for the coming generation.
Let us never forget how good it was here, when we were all together, united by a good and kind feeling, which we shall carry with us, though we may part now. He tells them to remember Alyosha, to remember their shared kindness, to hold on to the good. It's a beautiful, uplifting ending, after all the darkness.
It is. He talks about love, memory, and the importance of holding on to these bonds, even when life is hard. It's a very humanistic message, coming from the spiritual heart of the novel. It's about building heaven on earth through love, not through a grand, abstract idea.
But it's not an easy sentimentality. It's a hard-won optimism, earned through profound suffering and existential wrestling. Alyosha has seen the worst of humanity, the depths of depravity, and still chooses love and faith.
The sheer scope of this novel, though, it covers so much. Crime, passion, faith, doubt, freedom, justice, family. It's a microcosm of the human experience. And Dostoevsky explores every facet with such unflinching honesty.
It truly is. And the characters are so alive, so real, even in their extremes. You find yourself empathizing with all of them at different points, even the vile Fyodor Pavlovitch in his moments of weakness.
Speak for yourself, Aristo. I found him consistently repugnant. But I agree, the characters are unforgettable. They embody different philosophical stances, yet they never feel like mere mouthpieces. They're fully fleshed out human beings.
And the way Dostoevsky weaves in these profound philosophical arguments into the fabric of a murder mystery, it's not just intellectual gymnastics, it's always grounded in the human experience and the raw emotions of these characters.
It's never just about ideas. It's about how ideas live in people, how they drive actions, how they shape destiny. Ivan's philosophy isn't just an academic exercise. It has real, devastating consequences through Smerdyakov.
And Zosima's philosophy isn't just a feel-good sermon. It's a rigorous path that Alyosha has to struggle to embrace, especially after the elder's death. It requires active commitment, not passive acceptance.
I think that's why this book resonates so deeply. It doesn't shy away from the ugly, the cruel, the seemingly irredeemable aspects of human nature. But it also presents this profound hope, this belief in the possibility of redemption and active love, even in the face of despair. It's a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit to seek meaning.
Absolutely. The tension between reason and faith, between human freedom and divine order, between individual responsibility and universal interconnectedness, it's all there, explored with such nuance. And it's not neatly resolved. It's something we, as readers, are left to wrestle with long after the final page. The beauty of it is that it gives you no easy answers, only profound questions.
And that's the sign of a truly great work, isn't it? One that forces you to engage, to think, to question your own beliefs. It's not a passive read. It's an active confrontation.
I think it also stands as a testament to the power of stories. These characters, their struggles, their triumphs, they become archetypes that we can recognize in ourselves and in the world around us. The Karamazov family in all its dysfunction is a mirror for humanity itself. The way Dostoevsky presents Dmitri's internal conflict, the broad Karamazov nature, as he calls it, encompassing both the highest ideals and the lowest depravities, is just brilliant. It's not that he's simply good or bad. He contains multitudes, often contradictory ones.
That's a great point, Albert. Dmitri particularly embodies that internal struggle. He can be noble and base in the same breath. His love for Grushenka is both pure and possessive. His desire for money is both practical and driven by a sense of entitlement. He's impulsive, chaotic, but also deeply sensitive and capable of profound insight. And that's what makes him, perhaps, the most relatable of the brothers. He's not as intellectually detached as Ivan, nor as spiritually pure as Alyosha. He's caught in the messy middle, which is where most of us live.
Relatable? Perhaps, but also exasperating. His inability to manage his affairs, his constant self-pity while simultaneously indulging in reckless behavior, it's a testament to human weakness, certainly, but it also highlights the idea that good intentions, without discipline or self-control, can lead to disaster. He knows he's a blackguard, as his father would say, but he can't stop himself.
But that's the tragedy, Isaac. He wants to be good. He aspires to nobility. He recognizes the beauty of Schiller's poetry even while he's living in sin. That's the Karamazov duality. It's not just weakness, it's a passionate embrace of life in all its extremes, both good and evil. And it's a struggle for mastery over that duality. He's desperately seeking some form of harmony, but his nature constantly pulls him into discord.
And it's that very nature that the prosecutor so skillfully dissects. He uses Dmitri's broad Karamazov nature as evidence of his guilt, arguing that he's precisely the type of person capable of patricide. The prosecutor's speech is a chilling example of how easily a powerful narrative can obscure the truth by fitting a person into a pre-existing archetype.
It's the ultimate character assassination. He builds a case based on who Dmitri is, or who he appears to be, rather than what he actually did. It's a warning about the dangers of reducing individuals to their perceived characteristics, of judging a book by its cover, however flamboyant that cover might be.
And the irony is, Dmitri did assault his father. He did threaten to kill him multiple times. He did desire his death. So, in a moral sense, he is guilty, even if he didn't commit the physical act. That's another layer of Dostoevsky's genius, exploring the different forms of guilt. Moral, psychological, spiritual, beyond mere legal culpability.
That's a crucial distinction, Albert. Dmitri's suffering in Siberia becomes a form of spiritual penance for his desires, his passions, his indirect culpability. He accepts the suffering, not just for the crime he didn't commit, but for the one he nearly did, and for the way he lived his life.
It's the only way for him to find peace, perhaps, to be stripped of everything, to be forced to confront his inner demons in a setting where external distractions are few. It's a forced asceticism, a secular monasticism.
And the contrast with Ivan's fate is striking. Ivan, who tries to deny spiritual reality, who intellectualizes evil, ends up in a mental hell. Dmitri, the sensualist, who embraces life in its suffering, finds a path to spiritual redemption. It seems Dostoevsky is arguing that intellectual pride can be more destructive than passionate excess.
That's a very Dostoevskian conclusion, isn't it? The idea that true wisdom comes not from intellectual abstraction, but from lived experience, from suffering, from embracing the full spectrum of human emotion and reality, even the painful parts. Ivan builds a Tower of Babel without God, as Alyosha's early thoughts on socialism mention, trying to create heaven on earth through reason alone, and it collapses into madness.
But it's not a simple condemnation of intellect. Ivan's arguments are incredibly compelling, and they're central to the novel's power. Dostoevsky isn't saying don't think. He's saying don't let your thinking lead you away from compassion and love. It's the pride in his intellect, the detachment from suffering, that proves his undoing.
Exactly. It's the difference between an intellectual understanding of suffering and a visceral, empathetic experience of it. Ivan could theorize about the suffering of children, but he couldn't truly feel it in a way that compelled him to active love. He intellectualized his rebellion, but he couldn't embody compassion. Alyosha, on the other hand, feels everything.
And Alyosha's journey, culminating in his speech at the stone, is about carrying that compassion into the world. He's not a priest, not cloistered, but an active force for good among the children. The children, those pure souls, become the inheritors of Zosima's message, passed through Alyosha.
The children, untainted by the adult world's compromises and corruptions, are the hope for the future. They are the ones who can still embrace the goodness that Alyosha champions. It's a remarkably hopeful ending for such a dark book.
And Kolya Krasotkin's transformation is a testament to Alyosha's influence. This proud, intellectual boy, who initially dismisses Alyosha as a foolish novice, is deeply moved by his genuine goodness and his heartfelt message. He recognizes the truth in Alyosha's words, even if he can't fully articulate it yet.
He's the future Ivan, but hopefully a redeemed Ivan, one who can integrate his intellect with compassion. Alyosha's final exhortation to the boys, to remember Ilyusha, to remember their bond, to remember this moment of goodness, is a powerful call to live ethically, to carry love forward.
It's a challenge to the reader, too. What will you choose? Will you fall prey to the Karamazov sensuality and chaos? Will you succumb to Ivan's intellectual despair? Or will you embrace Alyosha's active love and faith, even in a world riddled with injustice and suffering? The novel lays out the choices starkly.
And that's why it endures, isn't it? Because it tackles these fundamental human questions with such depth and artistry. It's not just a story, it's an examination of the human condition itself. And it forces you to look inward and ask yourself, where do I stand in the pro and contra of existence? What is my answer to the Grand Inquisitor?
Beautifully put, Albert. This book truly demands introspection. And on that note, to our listeners, we want to hear your thoughts. What aspect of the Brothers Karamazov resonated most deeply with you, and why? Was it Ivan's rebellion, Zosima's teachings, or Dmitri's path to redemption? Let us know in the comments.
And if you've enjoyed this rather intense intellectual workout, make sure to subscribe. We promise to keep challenging your assumptions, one literary masterpiece at a time.
Yes, hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss our next dive into the murky depths of human consciousness. Trust me, your soul will thank you for it. Or at least, your brain will.
Until next time, keep reading, keep thinking, and keep discussing. Thank you, Albert, Isaac, for a truly illuminating conversation.
Always a pleasure, Aristo.
Indeed, my brain feels both expanded and slightly battered. Good job, Dostoevsky. And you too.